Hey everybody, welcome back to the second ever live HeelCast, and this time we decided to go double time. We are live on both Twitch and we are also live on YouTube as well, pulling double time this week. I am joined with two incredible co-hosts. We've got Robert from Robert Does Wrestling. Robert, how's it going, man?
Hey, everything is good. Proud to be back once again on the HeelCast Live. That is a new format going forward. Yes, sir.
I know. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. And look, long await for this one. We have our good buddy FK9. FK9 is back with us on the HeelCast. FK9, how you been, my friend?
That's kind of a hard question to answer. But despite what you may have heard, I do still exist. I haven't been around as much as I was previously, but I'm still here. I'm still here.
That's awesome, man. So you've been keeping yourself busy?
Kind of had to, since real life kind of kicked me right in the nuts a few months ago. I've just been dealing with real world stuff for the ever since, and I'm not even close to being done with it yet, but I'm trying to get back into the swing of things little by little.
Well, hopefully this is one of those steps to pull you back into the fray. Because a lot of people have been asking about you. A lot of people have been wondering where you are. And hopefully we'll have you on a lot more often moving forward, my friend.
Yeah,
that's what we're looking for. Now, look, guys, in addition to these great co-hosts, we got a lot of friends we want to give shout outs to, folks that help us out along the way and help make this show possible. Of course, impactasylum.net. Tons of new content. Just dropped a new Hot Fire with Fire guide this evening. Dropped Papaya's review last night. So tons of new content coming out for impactasylum.net. Obviously, you know, our good buddy Andre Corbeil, the one-of-a-kind elite podcast, our good friend BQ over at the Impact Lounge, and, of course, the Wrestling Perspective podcast with Petey Wood.
Like music type of guitar cover, but I haven't decided yet which of the Impact teams I'm going to be playing, to be honest.
Cool, man. Very cool. Very cool. So look, guys, we got some big stories this week, right? We're gonna have a lot of them. So let's jump right into it and let's talk about the story that everybody is talking about, and that is Austin Aries, right? Showed up. He pulled a Rick Rude, right? Ravishing Rick Rude, and he showed up on ROH television as he was on Impact's Twitch special at the same time, and he looked Kenny King straight in the eyes and he said, "I'm coming for your title." Now look, Robert, a lot of folks talking about this. A lot of folks have some negative things to say about this. What's your opinion on Austin Aries going after the ROH TV title?
We gotta play like devil's advocate, right? Because obviously it's good seeing Austin Aries, you know, wrestling his battle buddy Kenny King. However, why did they choose the mid-card title? I don't get it, but let's see. I was not expecting, obviously, for him to go and beat their world champion. That is not gonna happen. But the mid-card title, why just don't call just any other regular wrestler?
So that's what I'm thinking. I'm saying to myself, you know, what's up with this, right? And why just go after the mid-card title? But I'm also thinking to myself, do we really think he's going to job out here, right? Do we really think that he's going to lay down for Kenny King? Or do we think that maybe he's setting up a money match, right, with Dalton Castle down the road? That's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if this isn't setting up something bigger, because there aren't too many money matches for Dalton Castle. I mean, there really isn't too much talent in ROH really to draw people for him to wrestle unless they're going to go with New Japan. So FK9, what do you think about this, my friend?
I kind of just assumed he went after the Kenny King's title because that's one that Aries hasn't held yet. And he's held the ROH world title before. So that's nothing new. And maybe they have plans for that one that don't involve Aries. But maybe if Kenny King doesn't have an opponent in the next, at least in the short term, I don't know. I haven't watched ROH in ages, but maybe this is something for him to do and wait for him to kill time until his next feud or whatever. And also is a title that Aries hasn't held before, so that's something they can play up maybe. I assume that was part of it, but I haven't seen it yet, so I'm not sure.
So what do you think about this for Impact? They're sending their world champion, and he's competing at a lower level. I mean, this is what people are really down about right now. Why, if Impact is a bigger, better promotion than Ring of Honor, and let's face it, guys, that's debatable on all levels, always has been, always will be. But if you're an Impact fan, certainly that's your perspective, FK9. Why have him challenge for a mid-card title? And then the flip side, would ROH send Dalton Castle to go after the Grand Championship?
Well, by that same token, you could ask why they're sending their why Impact is sending their stars to wrestle matches in other companies, and to film matches for Impact. I don't really get it. At least in this case, it's a company that has decent production values, and the ring isn't falling apart. Don't get me started. But I think I forget where I heard this exactly. I think it was one of those one of their new partners. I think they said something like something to the effect of the future is in collaboration, not competition. And I think that's kind of what this is about. It's we know they've been trying to foster all these relationships with other companies, right? Triple H, Noah, various indie promotions. And what have you?
Did you just say Triple H? You just said Triple H.
Triple A. Excuse me. Sorry. I was watching Raw before we came on here. Thank you, by the way, for pulling me away from that show. Because I was putting me to sleep. Triple A. Anyway, they were trying to create all these relationships and partnerships with these other companies. And you have to create trust in doing that. So what better way to create trust than by farming out your world champion to do something with another company? I mean, they're going to appreciate that. I mean, Impact has had a very, very rocky relationship with ROH over the years, and I'm sure to do something the fans aren't eager for Impact to have any involvement, but if they get Aries back for a couple of shows, they'll appreciate that, and then maybe this will not repair a bridge, but hey, if we scratch ROH's back, maybe they'll be willing to scratch Impact's back in the future at some point.
Robert, what do you think about all this from a business perspective?
It more than anything, it sounds like pandering. They want to be liked. They want to be loved. That is what Scott D'Amore and Don Callis seems to be looking to get, right? Why am I saying that, right? I don't know if you noticed that there have been a lot of people like tweeting Don Callis stuff, right? Like sign this person or get this person on Impact. And you see like his response most of the time is, will this get this is awesome chant going on in the Impact Zone? Meaning, what does that mean, right? Meaning he wants to pander to that audience. However, that audience is very disloyal, and it is not a secret that just the Impact audience is kind of disloyal too. So you're trying to get someone in bed that is not gonna be with you during the morning. It is not a good plan. But
I don't know about that, Robert. That sounds like a great plan to me.
Yeah, no.
I'm just saying, I personally, Impact dude has no beef at all with waking up in the morning by himself. No beef with that whatsoever.
Yeah, but if you want to have something long term, I don't know about that. However, they want to be loved. That is clear, straight up pandering, and I don't think that is gonna help anything. And however, more than anything, I think they should rather focus on their product. There have been a lot of improvements, but there have been a lot of, let's say, TNA things, like the typical stuff. But we're gonna be talking about during this review about that. But as my final thoughts on they pandering towards ROH and the dirt sheets, I don't get it. I truly do not get it. Maybe I am wrong. Hopefully I am wrong, but I don't get it.
So I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, first of all, who cares? He's at Ring of Honor. He's not going to just job out. First of all, if you're Austin Aries, folks, and you job out the Kenny King, first of all, you got how many belts around your waist? Impact Wrestling is going to be like, we ain't having you no more, man. You're done. All those other companies that you're working with, you're going to get yourself a bad name. So if Austin Aries were to actually have this not come over well for him, then Austin Aries is shooting himself in the foot in a big way. He is not going to do the job. It's possible he could lose by disqualification. Anything, any kind of a screw job could happen. There could be a dusty finish. That all is complete possible. And what's not possible is that he's going to go in there. He's going to get the floor mopped with him by Kenny King. I would expect goes in. He's a great match with Kenny King. Kenny King puts on a great match anyway. Okay. They tear it up. More likely than not, he has a couple other feuds in Ring of Honor. Maybe he goes after Dalton Castle. That would be a money match, right? Maybe we get to see that money match on a Twitch special, or maybe it shows up on a Ring of Honor pay-per-view. Who cares, right? The point is that I think we're going to get that match, and then you're going to see somebody lose somehow, and maybe you get a screw job finish, right? But it's not going to end poorly. As far as how this works for Impact fans and Impact Wrestling itself, they're bringing eyes to the product. Eyes that used to be on Impact that are now at Ring of Honor. If you think back to when AJ Styles debuted at Ring of Honor a couple of years ago, guys, how did that go over? They freaking went ape shit for him, right? The Hardys showed up. They chanted delete as loud as they could, right? Bully Ray showed up. They went ape shit again. Every time an Impact star shows up at Ring of Honor Wrestling, they get over. So I think that there's no reason to think that Austin Aries isn't going to go over the same way. Now, Robert, you touched on a really, really important point. You talked about the disloyalty of the fans. Now, I'm going to flip that just a little bit, and I'm going to say that disloyalty breeds disloyalty. Impact Wrestling has changed its direction how many times? Every time you turn around, they have been disloyal to the fans and caused the fans to be disloyal. So it is a two-way street, right? I agree with you. The fans have been disloyal, but the company's been disloyal. What Ed and Scott and Don are attempting to do here is they're attempting to bring back that loyalty. Okay. So they're putting their stars out and they're saying, we're going to put the stars out here. We're going to let you watch them, to let you enjoy them. We're going to give you quality product. We're going to give you, taped house shows live on Twitch. We're going to give you a reason to talk about us. We're going to give you a reason to tune in. And in my mind, that's why this is a good thing and not a bad thing. I think that is why we should be applauding this and why it's ultimately going to work out.
I want to bring another point. Let me knock on wood first. What would happen if Austin Aries were to get injured? Oh boy. How many promotions will get fucked during that process? And, Austin Aries is an excellent athlete, but he's nearly his 40. He's not a spring chicken. And I have thought about that a couple of times. As for, TNA TV is safe because they have, all the shows taped until mid-April, if I'm not mistaken. But as for the other promotions, that could end up in a mess.
Yeah, I hear you. I think anytime you have a champion that is not exclusively under contract, I think you have to worry about that. And I would say, with the exception of, traditionally Impact, and, Ring of Honor and WWE, I think you have that. So I think there's other promotions that have probably been screwed before. And we've seen Impact get screwed before. And we had Rosemary have a scare just recently, right? At a non-Impact taping but it can happen in Impact taping. I think that's just a chance you have to take to be in business in a company that is not WWE in 2018, to be honest with you, Robert. And even WWE, I mean, how many shows do they do a year, right? They do shows constantly. So somebody get hurt at a house show. I think your point, though, is that he's made himself so important to independent wrestling as a whole, right? By carrying all those belts. But, we'll wish him the best and hope it doesn't happen. But yeah, it could happen anytime. It could happen at that Ring of Honor show. It could happen before that Ring of Honor show. I mean, let's face it, the schedule that he's keeping these days, he might not make it to see Kenny King. FK9, what are your feelings on, Austin Aries kind of carrying the torch right now for a lot of different promotions?
I think it is probably a little bit of a risk, but I mean, Aries knows how to protect himself, and I don't think you can call him injury prone. I mean, yeah, he's not a spring chicken anymore, but he's still in great shape. So yeah, I mean, he could get injured, but I mean, you say that about any time you let your stars work in other promotions. I mean, you're going to run that risk regardless. I don't think all these companies would put their belts on him to the point where he's being called the belt collector, if they didn't believe that this was a risk worth taking. Concurrently, I don't think Impact Management would let him show up on ROH if they didn't think it was a risk worth taking. So, is it a risk? Yeah, but everybody seems relatively confident in it working out. Otherwise, he wouldn't have all the titles he's got right now.
Yeah, and he tweeted something to that effect, right? He said that, hopefully when you are a champion for a promotion, they trust your ability to do business and not just your ability to be in the ring. So I think that what he's saying is that they trust that he's not going to screw them all over in the process, and they should. And if they don't trust him, he probably shouldn't be their champion. So I think he's got that, pretty well figured out, and I think they all kind of have it figured out. Now, one thing, Robert, we were talking about this, just shortly before we went live here, about something that people are talking about. Triple A, not to be confused with Triple H, but Triple A is apparently rumored that they were talking about buying Impact Wrestling. And apparently, up here in the United States, we just sort of laughed it off. But apparently down in Mexico, they're taking this a little bit more seriously than we thought that they would, even though it still sounds kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, so there have been even like one of the mainstream, outlets in Mexico called the Record. They were running that, let's say that news, that rumor, like it was a possibility. Even this guy, Hugo Sabinovich, you might know who he is. He used to be the color commentator of World Wrestling Entertainment during the time that they used to break the Spanish announce team table every single week. The fat guy, so just in case you're wondering which of the two he is. So Hugo, he even gave some credibility to the idea that, yeah, they talk about if it was on sale, like say, hey, if you're ever thinking about selling Impact, I'm interested, but not as an actual offer or anything like that. There could be also the interpretation that this whole thing was like a tongue-in-cheek joke, but at least for the time being, some of the Mexican press run like it was an open possibility. However, I don't think there's any credibility towards the whole thing, and I think it is something set and spread to make it seems like Impact Wrestling is on a hollow ground. So anytime anybody else can run in and buy the company. It is more of that same style of news and, you know, propaganda, to be honest. And I don't see any credibility towards that rumor.
FK9, I mean, what do you know about this potential rumor?
Well, AAA is buying Impact, and that's the big story that they're pushing down in Mexico. Okay, well, I guess somebody forgot to tell Anthem and Ed Nordholm about that, because as far as they know, Impact isn't for sale. At least that's how I understand it. It might be quote unquote for sale in the sense that if somebody makes them an offer, they'll listen to it because that's how business works. But are they actually like literally planning to sell it to anyone? If they were, we probably would have heard something about it. So I think this is kind of silly. And really, I mean, how many times have we heard stuff like this over the years? I think there was a period when you couldn't go more than a couple of months without hearing some crazy rumor like the company is for sale or it's being sold off or whatever. I mean, it's just white noise to me now. I don't even listen to this stuff. If the company is being sold, we'll hear about it. But anything else is just rumors.
The people who spread that type of rumor, it is like, you know, the weird side of YouTube, that you have like people making videos about the end of the world and the Anunnaki and some asteroids gonna hit the earth. It is kind of the same type of mindset. Like they want something, you know, catastrophic to happen, and I totally do not understand.
I think that's what it is, Robert. I mean, honestly, I think that you have a select group of people that want something bad to happen so much they keep talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. And if they're going to go nuts if it ever happens, I mean, you know, if AAA buys Impact, they're going to go ape shit. If Triple H buys Impact, they're going to go ape shit. If anybody buys Impact, they're going to go ape shit. But the more that they talk about it ad nauseum, every opportunity you get, the less people actually really care about it. The mass media, right? And I'm enlightening this to, and I hate to bring politics into it, but this whole Russia story, right? You hear about it nonstop so much. At some point in time, you just tune it out, and it could come, and it could actually happen, folks. And there would be a large segment of the population which would just have tuned it out by that point. Could be the worst thing that ever happened, right? And people just, they don't care because it's been overplayed so much. This is the same thing. This is that actually on steroids for me, because I eat, live, and breathe Impact. I don't eat, live, and breathe politics. The bottom line is I've heard this so much, so many times, that unless I hear somebody say the company's for sale and something's going to happen, I'm numb. Completely numb to it, guys. It is what it is, and I ain't losing sleep over it, right? So if Impact sells, it sells, but to the nearest I can tell, FK9 hit this thing on the head. The company's not actually for sale, right? I'm sure if somebody offers them enough money, like FK9 said, they'll take it, because I know I would. I'm not stupid. They aren't either. But I don't think that it's actually for sale. So I'm not really sure why they would want it. And I'm also not really sure why AAA would be interested in buying it. And don't think they know anything about the American wrestling audience. I don't think that their style of wrestling is what American fans are necessarily interested in. I think they have an exciting product. I mean, I've seen some of their product, guys. I think it's actually a pretty damn good product. But I think it would take a while to get the American audience to invest in that product. And I think they would have to Americanize certain elements of it for the American, public to get involved and in tune with it. I don't think it's just a matter of them coming over here. And I think it's like New Japan has, fostered these relationships, with other companies, Impact years ago and now Ring of Honor, because they realize that their style of wrestling doesn't necessarily translate directly to the American style, but they have still tried to kind of inch in. So yeah, to me, this is a non-story, whatever. Dirt sheets be dirt sheets. Moving on, like I said, not a lot of news this week, but it's the news that we've got is definitely news. Breaking news today: FK9, Jeff Hardy, blew a breathalyzer, and what do we say? 3 times the legal limit.
Yep. 3 times. Wow. What is it with the Hardys, man? There's some kind of there's some kind of weird imbalance between them where only one of them can have their shit together at one time. Like you can't ever have both of them doing well at once for some reason. For years, Matt was the one who had his shit together and Jeff was the screw up, and then it was reversed till Jeff got his act together and Matt fell off the wagon, or however you want to put it. And now they kind of switched again. Matt is doing okay, or as well as he can be, married to that thing. Yeah. And now Jeff falls off the wagon again. God damn it, Jeff! What the hell, man? I thought you had I thought you got that monkey off your back by now, Jeff. You were doing really well for a couple of years, and now you just it's disappointing. He finally got into a good place where I was rooting for the guy to just to have his shit together and keep his shit together, and then it happens again. It's really unfortunate. I guess glass half full. It's not Impact's problem anymore. Now it's WWE. This is something WWE's got to deal with.
Man, this news, hit me kind of hard, right? Why? Because if you read the news during the time the Hardys jumped ship back to the World Wrestling Entertainment, Jeff Hardy didn't want to go there. He did not want to go there. But he ended up doing it because of his brother and his love for his brother, and his brother also thinking that he was gonna make it big with the whole broken type of stuff. However, it looks like none of the stuff was able to happen. Matt Hardy is right now on mid-card hell, as far as I know, and Jeff had like the injury, and now he's getting once again in trouble with his demons. It is to be honest, it is a sad story if you think about it. You do that, you're doing you know, how can I explain this? You are going somewhere that you didn't want to go because of the respect and love that you have for your brother. You go there and everything falls down. It is sad, to be honest. And hopefully Jeff Hardy is able to recover for this as soon as possible, and he's able to put all of those demons behind him, because he still to this day he's young. If you think about, he's like 40, 41, 42, and he have like kids and stuff like that. Nobody wants to see their dad dealing with that type of stuff. So hopefully, Mr. Jeffrey Nero Hardy, you are able to get your life back in track as soon as possible.
What a shame. What a tragic shame. I mean, you talk about one of the most talented, charismatic wrestlers in the world for a long period of time. Just can't get his act together. We thought he had done it, We thought that after that incredible, it was Victory Road, right? Incident with Sting. It was Victory Road, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I don't remember what year it was, though. What year was it? 2011, 2012, maybe?
2011.
I don't remember. 2011. All right, yeah. Good. My memory's better than I thought it was. I remember at that point being ready to just be done with Jeff Hardy. It's like, look, you can't do that, right? And a lot of people wanted to give him a pass. A lot of people wanted to give him a second chance. And I was one of the ones that was like, no, he's got to earn his way back. And he said he wanted to earn his way back. And then he did. He actually earned his way back, guys. I mean, this is the guy who actually earned his way back. And he did it. And he proved that he absolutely, positively could be that top guy again. And he carried the company. And no matter what role that they put him in, he carried the company through that role. Whether he was in tag team, he was carrying the company. Whether he was in mid-card, he was carrying the company. He was the guy that was putting out the spots time and time and time again. Never complained. Put his body on the line. Every single night of those tapings, came back right out and did it again. He took his bumps, he took his bruises, and you never heard a peep out of Jeff Hardy having a problem. And then what happens? He goes right back to WWE, and here we are again about a year later, and much like a bad toxic relationship, he's back in the same position. Now, I don't want to point fingers and say that this is WWE's fault, blah, blah, blah. That's not the purpose of what I'm actually getting ready to say. But WWE fosters this by keeping guys on the road. They foster this by providing that environment. Now, I'm sure Jeff has a lighter schedule these days, but everybody else there is on the road. It's very much a road mentality versus, they had the marathon tapings with Impact. They all go home. It's a little bit more of a, we're in one spot for a while. I don't want to say on vacation, but we kind of get out together. We hang like family, and then, we do it again tomorrow. I'm not sure that Jeff Hardy really thrives in that toxic road mentality environment. Even if at the moment he's not a part of that environment because he's not on the road all the time. Like I said, I'm sure his schedule is lighter these days than it used to be. And I think that somebody needs to recognize that and keep him from WWE for his own good, right? Jeff Hardy has plenty of money. Both Hardys are very well invested. It's well known that their father has managed their finances and made sure that they're invested and taken care of for retirement from wrestling. There's no reason why he couldn't come back to Impact, work a while longer. He could go to ROH. He could work a while longer. He could make plenty of money. He'd go over to Japan, do some tours, but not have to keep that hectic schedule that gets him into trouble every time. So for your own good, Jeff, I think you should consider that. This isn't just me trying to be, the typical Impact Wrestling, the mark that just wants you back. Although honestly, there is some of that in there. This is for your own good, my friend. You're absolutely your own good. So that wraps up the news, guys. Unless you have anything else, we did not have a whole lot of stories this week.
Ichimori leaving Noah. How is
really?
That? Yeah, he was.
Is this breaking?
Yeah, just like a couple of hours. So he's leaving Noah, and he wants to test the water, and also thought about going to World Wrestling and Entertainment. I wish him nothing but the best of luck. However, I think WWE is pretty stacked with a lot of cruiserweights, so it is hard to stand out of the crowd. And by the way, the whole 205 thing, it's not going that well, to be honest. So I wouldn't lead Impact, where you receive a push ever since you got there. You got a title and a lot of good coverage by the company to wander in somebody else's land. And it is, I don't know what the hell is in the tap water in Florida, but there might be something. LBN do the same stuff. James Storm did the same stuff, and I don't think they ended up being successful. But maybe Ichimori is the one who have the best of luck. Go ahead, Full Killer.
If Ishimori wants to go to WWE, good luck to him. He'll make more money over there, but he'll also just kind of peak as a face in the crowd on 205 Live. And, those guys don't even get on Raw or Smack. Those guys don't even appear on Raw most weeks anymore. So, all right, if he's looking for money, he'll make money there. But he'll probably just end up being pretty forgettable. At least,
Really,
yeah. At least in Impact, the guy gets featured on TV. Can you really guarantee he'd get that if he went to WWE? No, he'd be on the network show. And honestly, I don't even know what their roster is anymore. Because, I mean, is there any buzz for 205 Live? Do you see buzz anywhere? I don't. I know the artist formerly known as Rockstar Spud is their authority figure. But that's because he appeared on Raw, I think, a couple weeks ago, and as like sitting in on commentary. But what's their roster on 205 Live? Beats me. I don't even know. The show has no buzz. So if that's where Ishimori wants to go, okay, fine. Go make your money. That's what's important to you.
I'm not sure he's going to make the money. I mean, Austin Aries said that he'd make more money in the Indies because it wasn't being used. And Ishimori's great, by the way, guys. This is the guy who's really grown on me over the past year since he's been with Impact Wrestling. I mean, I saw him as, generic Japanese talent when he walked in the door, and I'm just blown away by his talent at this point. I think he's an amazing in-ring character. And I think his character outside the ring has grown too. I think anytime you don't speak English as a first language on an English-speaking show, you're going to have a little trouble. But I think he's bridged it pretty well. But in terms of him going to WWE, I agree with you guys. I don't think he'll be featured on TV. I don't think that he'll get the shows that he otherwise, would get. And I'm not sure he would make a whole lot more money than he can make on the Indies. And I'll be honest with you, he to get lost in the crowd. I wouldn't be surprised they just flat out didn't pick him up. And I'm not saying that because he's not talented. I'm saying it because he does not fit the bill of what you see over there. He just doesn't. I mean, he's an incredibly talented guy, but he doesn't wrestle the style that they wrestle. He doesn't have the hulking physique. I mean, if he were 6'4", 250, they'd sign him, right? So I don't know. I'm not convinced that he will. But what I am convinced of is that we need him in Impact. And if he's leaving Noah, I hope that he goes somewhere where we can keep him on our television sets, because I think Ishimori's great. And Robert, I'm going to agree with you. I wish the guy nothing but the best. He's just been phenomenally fun to watch. Now, look, guys, there was a show this week, right? And it was what do we want to call this? Not a pay-per-view, but a special Impact, I suppose. Right? Crossroads. And no, there was no Cody Rhodes featured, but they did call it Crossroads. I still get a kick out of that, and I still see it online, and I still get a kick out of it every time y'all write it. But we kicked it off with Ishimori. Speaking of Ishimori, against Matt Sydal, title for title. Robert, I thought this was a fantastic match.
Yeah, really good, really. A straight to the point type of match. Kind of, it reminded me like the old WCW episodes that you will have like the cruiserweights starting the show. This was good. No complaints for me at all during that match. However, my complaint as it goes for the beginning of the show, I think it would have been a lot more wiser to start the show with a video package of the baseball bat shot that happened last week. Why? Because it was the topic of discussion during the whole week. And I think they should have taken advantage of that. That is, the smart thing to do. What are your thoughts?
Robert,
yeah, go ahead.
Robert, not to interrupt you, what you're saying here, but you're talking about the same company that took a story, an incident involving Rosemary that made her the talk of the wrestling world, and turned it into a story on Impact about Jeff Jarrett. So they have a history of not capitalizing on stuff like this.
But the thing is that was the TNA way of doing things. If the new let's buy into their let's say their narrative, right? This is the new Impact Wrestling with Don Callis and Scott D'Amore. Now we are not gonna do the same mistakes we used to do back in the day. However, they did the same stuff they have been doing for ages. And it is like, oh God, it is the new boss doing the same thing as the old boss. However, I want to play also devil's advocate. Would it be possible that they already had that show prepackaged and they just forget about it? Let's send that to the TV stations.
This is my thing. I think he got hurt, and I think that they had to tape Crossroads probably very shortly thereafter, and I don't think that they had time to adjust. I think if they were a little bit more seasoned, if you actually had a regime that had been in place for 10 years, God forbid you had a regime in place for 10 years. Could you imagine the sheer fact that I said the absurdity of what I just said? Impact a regime with 10 years experience. But if they had that, then maybe they would have opened it up with Lashley and Cage versus OVE. They could have run the video package. They could have had Sammy come out and run his mouth because they didn't have anything to follow that up with. It was like Eddie got hurt, and so you can't bring Eddie out. Eddie's at the freaking hospital, right? I mean, Eddie's done, right? And so you got to do something. So I think that they probably maybe start the show with Lashley and Cage defeating OVE, but have Sami Callihan go run his mouth and kind of build that up. I just don't think it didn't how to react.
Or even show like the TMC articles, like on TV or something like that. I think that would have been sufficient. If I was, let me put myself in, let's say, the casual internet fan, right? You were just browsing for wrestling news and that video appeared. You got Jim Cornette getting pissed at Sami Callihan and blah, blah, blah. However, you say, hey, I got Pop TV. I want to tune into the show and see what the hell happened with Eddie Edwards and Sami Callihan. And all right, you were greeted with an excellent match and a good video package with Johnny Impact and Austin Aries. However, that was not what you were looking for, right?
No, wasn't what I was looking for at all.
Yeah, so I think it was a dumb mistake. However, it is what it is. It was an excellent episode, but that would have... by the way, I think the decline on ratings when you compare that to last week could also be attributed to them not, taking advantage of that thing that happened. Go ahead, fool killer.
Fool.
Yeah. For for a match that was title versus title, I feel like this should have been a bigger deal. I mean, how does something like that come about? You get Ishimori interrupting an interview with Matt Sydal backstage, calls him a douchebag, and suddenly it's a match where it's title versus title. I feel like something like that should have like more build up and mean more than it does. And it's a great match, but it also, in story wise, execution wise, it kind of feels like really rushed, almost like an afterthought. Well, not exactly an afterthought, but you kind of see where I'm coming from here, where it's just something that they did, and they didn't bother to make it feel like the special event that it probably should have been. I have no complaints about the match. I just kind of question why they're in this position if they weren't going to make title versus title feel like it's like a bigger deal.
I gotta say something, Robert. You're speaking a lot of the same things that I'm thinking these days, right? And that is that Impact Wrestling these days is reminding me a lot more of Nitro, the way that they're building these matches for the X Division. This match, FK, I'm going to say flat out, yes, it could have been better built, but so could have the matches that were done in Nitro back in the day. But they at least had a build. And if you think about all the X Division matches we've had over the years that had zero build at all, this one at least had a build and it meant something. So at least they're starting to do something with these guys. I thought the match itself was tremendous. I do agree with you that they needed to do something with opening this show with Sami Callihan and Eddie Edwards and do something with that throughout it. Then again, we don't have any how long it's going to be until they can put those two in the ring and actually build them up either. That might be another thing that they're having issues with. So the distinct possibility. We also had a tag title match, right? LAX versus the Cult of Lee. Guys, this was a match that not really match. I was looking forward to the match because I think they did a good job at building it, but I wasn't really looking forward to this feud. Other than to say, at least it isn't LAX versus OVE again. But I think they did a really nice job at building this thing up since they've announced it and started the feud. And quite frankly, the action in this match was fantastic. I mean, I got to tell you that Santana and Ortiz, those two guys, they don't get a whole lot of credit. It's always LAX. It's never Santana. It's never Ortiz. And when you think LAX, you just naturally think Conan. But Santana and Ortiz, they blew the roof off the place. And I don't know if you guys watched the special on Twitch, but Ortiz delivered a promo in that special that was pretty damn special in itself. Did either one of you guys catch that promo?
Nope.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, he really nailed it with the mic work. And you always think of Santana as the one who's going to be the breakout star, but and maybe he will be, right? But let's not sleep on Ortiz. That guy, he's done some spots. They're both fantastic in the ring together. I mean, these guys, at least in my world, kind of came out of nowhere. And it's like, oh, we're bringing back LAX with two guys nobody's ever heard of because they wrestle for Conan, right? And they just nailed it. I mean, they really are an elite tag team. They really deserve to be in the spot that they're in. I had the fortune of watching a little bit of old LAX tonight on Twitch, on Impact's channel. And those guys, they were very good too, with Homicide in particular was fantastic. But these guys are just as good or better. I mean, they really are nailing it. Great match from my perspective. The fun match to watch. I hope to see these two teams together more.
I really like what they've done with the Cult of Lee. They've changed these two up a little bit. I guess like the big criticism about Caleb Conley is that he's kind of bland personality wise, but they put him with Trevor Lee and they've been doing these comedy vignettes and it's been really entertaining stuff. And I guess my one criticism is that you don't really take them seriously as opponents for LAX when they're played this comedically. And LAX are the ones with the street cred. They're the badasses, and then you get these two heels who not only are they outnumbered by LAX, but they're also playing up the kind of goofball stuff where it's kind of hard to take them seriously as a threat, and then they can't really get over on LAX either. And so I'm not really sure how much mileage there is here. And of course, LAX won this match here. So where else can you really go with this? I mean, you're going to have LAX go back to feuding with OVE again? I mean, you got no other tag teams here. Maybe you want to give the Cult of Lee the win and extend this a little while. I mean, the Desi Hit Squad isn't showing up just yet, so you got some time to kill. So what else can really be done here? I mean, I'm enjoying what the Cult of Lee are doing, but I mean, what else is there to do with this rivalry now? I'm not sure.
As for this match, right? I am a horrible person. I read the spoilers before the show came in, right? And I read about the Call of Lee versus LAX, and I was like, oh, they just find two random guys, put them against LAX just to kill time. However, they deliver, and they hold, their ground towards, LAX. And this is the model how I would like to see the tag team division of Impact Wrestling moving forward. Even these guys, the who look like 16-year-old girls, the Young Bucks, right? They were praising LAX and saying, "Hey, how great this match was." This is how tag team should be, especially for television. Easy to watch, easy to see. Even if you were like flipping channels, this is the type of match that will take your interest. Why? Because of the pure athleticism and also the characters. Don't forget about the characters. They were not, they were doing their athletic stuff type of deal. And also you got Conan, who is a familiar face, and you got, doing the stuff on the outside. And LAX also received more impact zone attention than some of the other talents. And if you pay attention, the loudest that they get is during the LAX segments. So that always makes up for good television. And as a rubber match, right, between Call of Lee and LAX, I don't think there's any way what should that happen. Would you guys want to see that going forward, another match between the two, but with some type of a stipulation?
I'd like to see them wrestle again, but I'm be honest with you. My question is, why make them wrestle each other constantly? Why not have a couple of tag teams you can slip in the mix here? Right? Because I think FK9 hit the nail on the head before. Where do they go after this? And a stipulation might be the place that they could go. But where do the two teams go? Wouldn't it be great to see the Cult of League go against OVE for a bit and send somebody else to LAX?
I'd like to see him wrestle again, but after LAX came out on top last Thursday, is there even a reason for them to wrestle again? Because Cult of Lee went up against them and they lost. The feud kind of feels like it's over.
It did feel like a blow-off match, and it was at a quote-unquote pay-per-view, right?
Yeah.
So where would you send the two teams now? What would you do with LAX?
I think ever since they're getting, what are the names? Reno's come back. Reno's is coming back, right? To Impact Wrestling. I think they should just go ahead and pull the trigger and put LAX versus Reno's Scum, the Punk Rockers versus the Hip Hop Street Gang.
I hadn't heard about Reno's Scum.
Yeah, me neither.
I assumed LAX were just going to kill time until the Desi Hit Squad debuts. But if Reno's Scum are going to be back, okay. I wasn't fans of those guys. I thought they just came off like geeks to me. I don't see them as legit competition for LAX, but I guess it's someone else to wrestle, and they do need more tag teams.
Yeah, this is showing up 13 hours ago that Reno Scum will be returned to Impact Wrestling for an upcoming series of house shows in Newark, California. So they're not necessarily showing up. It's going to be produced by Big Time Wrestling, and it said that they'd had a short stint, with Impact Wrestling, but it doesn't say that they're necessarily going back to be back on Impact TV.
Yeah, I know, but I think that is the best thing they can do for the time being, unless they're gonna sign another tag team. They're already like known by the fans, so I think it is the easy way out into finding a dancing partner for LAX.
I like the idea of Desi Hit Squad, to be honest with you. I need to see a little bit more out of them. I mean, I've only seen the one match of theirs, and it was all right. It wasn't anything special to write home about, but it wasn't bad either, and it definitely gives you at least teams. like I said, I was watching some Impact on Twitch tonight, and the one of the LAX matches that I was watching, it was against Triple X, if I remember. It wasn't even over the tag title match; it was over the #1 contendership. Could you imagine if they had a tag division where they could actually have a #1 contendership match? I know it sounds ridiculous, but when was the last time we really had the ability to do that?
It's been a while.
I mean, so just the ability to do that and to have some tag teams would be an amazing improvement over where they sit today. But at any rate, so LAX they retained, well deserved, and then we go on and we're gonna have our first new champion of the night, because I don't want to say Matt Sydal, or he was already had the belt. Ali obviously it was already a one-time champion, but Ali goes over on LVN to win the Knockouts Championship. And guys, I'm gonna throw this out there before we even start talking about this. Laurel Van Ness has done nothing but put over Impact Wrestling since she asked for her, for her release. She did everything they've asked her to do. She has not shown up on WWE television. She hasn't tweeted about NXT or anything like that. She's still promoting the shows that she has upcoming, right? She's going to be a part of the show down in New Orleans, if I'm correct, right? This girl has been nothing but good for the division, and I'm glad that they gave her the title run, because she really has proven that she was a class act throughout all of it. They asked her to job out to Ali. She jobbed out to Ali. I thought the match went over well. It wasn't the greatest match on the card, but nonetheless, it was a decent knockouts match. It had a decent build to it, and it was a fun match to watch. Robert, what did you think about all this?
Yeah, the match was good. My only let's say critique toward the whole thing is that I wish Ali haven't won the belt before, and this was her actually first time as the knockout champion. That would be, I think that would have been a lot better when it comes down to a big moment, going into the impact zone and trying to wake those people up. That would have been better, but it is what it is. I'm happy to see Ali going forward, and I want to see what is the whole thing about Ali, because I haven't watched none of her stuff from the indies. Therefore, I am not familiar with the awesome Ali everybody's talking about and was bossing about. So I want to see that. Please give me the famous Ali from the indies. That is what I want to see going forward. Go ahead, Full Killer.
I don't know why people have been giving Laurel Van Ness a hard time. This girl, by all accounts, has conducted herself in a much classier way than a lot of other people you could name as they have left this company. Like you said, I mean, she hasn't been, barreling straight for NXT. She hasn't been tweeting about NXT or anything like that. She's still promoting the company. And just you think about where this girl came from. I mean, it wasn't that long ago when they gave her the absolute, the most thankless gimmick you could possibly think of. Mm-hmm. And she worked some kind of, she didn't complain. She didn't bitch about it. She just knuckled down. She worked some kind of crazy black magic with that thing, somehow got it over. I don't know how the hell she did that, but she somehow got it over and became a standout character and deservedly got the title. Now, you could argue that you could say that, that she said that, she was leaving the company or whatever right after or right before she got the title, whatever the hell that was. We don't know what happened there, but regardless, she deserved to get the title. I do believe that. And even though it came at kind of an awkward time when right before she's going to leave, still, look at what she's doing. She's putting people over. She's helping Ali to become a bigger star on her way out. Again, there are other people you could point to that really haven't done that on their way out. Not going to name any names, but Laurel's still doing everything that a classy person should do. She's not burning any bridges. She's doing everything they asked her to do. I don't know why people have been giving her a hard time so much. It makes no sense to me at all. I enjoyed the match. I thought it was one of the better knockout matches we've seen in a while. I still think it may have been a little too soon to give Allie the belt for realsies, but they're kind of in a tricky place where the only other person who really could get the belt was Rosemary, and she's feuding with Taya right now. And nevertheless, I do still think Rosemary probably should have gotten it so her and Taya could be feuding for the title. I think that would have made more sense. But really, the only other option is Allie, so they made the right decision in putting it on her. And, kudos to Laurel. I'm sad to lose her.
Yeah, I agree with you. It feels like it's a little bit early for Allie. And when you think about it, she's now a 2-time knockout champion, and Rosemary's only had it once, right? And Rosemary, one of the most dominant knockouts really at this point in knockouts history. I mean, she really has been, been that over at this point. But kudos to Allie. I mean, I think everybody loves Allie. I don't know how you can't love Allie, not love Allie. She's just lovable. Now if we could just get Braxton Sutter to get a little bit of that Allie charm in him. He had a bad week.
I don't know. I think he's headed in the right direction, actually. I don't think I never really thought Braxton was a bad talent. I think they were just using him wrong. He was just totally miscast as an X Division babyface. I think if you make him a mid-card heel, I think he's going to get over better.
I hope so, because as a babyface, he was so generic. I mean, so generic. But I have to admit, I did enjoy, him losing last week, and he lost on the last Chancery as well. And it was sort of an extension of that character, and I found that character to be much, much more appealing. At the same point in time, I do tend to like the comedy characters, as you guys know, Grado. So no, hey, I got to throw Grado out, FK9. If you're one, I got to throw Grado out. We haven't seen him in a while. What if he's coming back? There's no sign. Did they release him? Is he still on the roster page?
No. Let me check. Give me a second. Keep talking.
Good question. Anyway,
well, we know his visa is good for him working in America. Couldn't work in Canada, which is why he got deported, but he can work in America. They're back in America now, and he's still not there. So I'm crossing my fingers that we've seen the last of him. I don't know. I did the same thing with Tyrus, and he's back now. So I don't want to jinx anything.
I don't see him listed on the active roster.
No, I don't see. He's not there. Yeah, go ahead.
That active roster is pretty weak, though, right? So the question is to show up as an alumni. That's how you really know. Can we find him on the alumni page? Oh, FK9, this would make your life if he showed up on the alumni page, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What would you do if I said he's on the alumni page right now?
I don't know. I'd say thank you, Joseph Park, for getting him deported.
Oh, I mean, admittedly, he's not. So who knows? Grado's just Grado. He's still out there somewhere. But let me tell you two characters that are not comedy, and I would never accuse them of being comedy. One would be Bobby Lashley, and the other would be Brian Cage. Now, OVE, sorry guys, I wouldn't be too scared to accuse you guys of being comedy, but I would be scared stiff to tell either one of those guys that they were funny in any way, shape, or form. Now, FK, I got to ask you, the Brian Cage involvement in this match, right? To me, it really diminished Bobby Lashley the way it came off. How much of this is due to them wanting to advance Brian Cage and put him in a program with Lashley? I mean, everybody's been talking about it from the beginning, right? These two have to meet before Lashley leaves. We all want to see it. And how much of them is, oh shit, Eddie Edwards is injured. Now what the hell are we supposed to do? oh, I know, let's just screw the whole thing up by bringing Cage out, because I mean, he really made Lashley look weak here.
Well, I don't know. I think it's a little bit of everything. Was this a last minute change of plans? Yeah, probably. It would have been Eddie in there had he not been injured. At the same time, they were probably headed toward Lashley and Brian Cage at some point before Lashley leaves anyway. So I don't see that as that big a deal. As for whether it diminished Lashley, I don't think they kind of booked themselves into a corner here where it's essentially 3-on-1. I don't think Sami Callihan was actually in the match for realsies, but he was there and he was interfering. So it's basically 3-on-1. That's what the announcer said. And I said this on Twitter during the match. I'm like, okay, it's 3-on-1. Lashley's leaving soon. OVE kind of have to go over here. It only makes sense for them to go over here because the guy is leaving. It doesn't matter. But they found a way around that where OVE don't get the win, but it's not because they got beat by one guy. It's because they got beat. They got beat when Brian Cage showed up and surprised everybody. So does it diminish Lashley in this? Maybe in the sense that he couldn't beat 3 guys at once, but again, he's leaving soon. He really shouldn't be beating 3 guys at once. we kind of should be shifting the focus over to Brian Cage. So if he's the one who gets the focus at the end of this segment, is that really a bad thing? I don't think so.
Yeah, Brian Cage was the one who got the pin, so he got the spotlight at the end, and also the end was at the end. Obviously, Lashley refused to shake the hand of Brian Cage. I think it was the other way around. Sorry. So I might think that this is too soon, probably, but it is what it is. At least it's happening. That is one of the things that the old guard used to kind of miss. And God, did they miss a lot of opportunities. And at least they're taking advantage of that big money match between Lashley and Brian Cage.
Now, what did you think of how it came over with Lashley? How do you think Lashley came over here?
I think they, how can I put it? If they would have changed the rules at the last time, making that match like free, like hardcore match or something like that, like you have a lot more interference from Sami Callihan. I think it would have been a lot better. But we got what we got. So either way, Lashley's leaving supposedly. I don't know if he's signing on the other side of town, or if he just concentrated, to be honest, on the whole MMA thing, because as far as I know, he's toward the top of the Bellator card. Therefore, they want to, push him into having a title match and stuff like that. There have been rumors that he's going to show up at World Wrestling Entertainment, but nothing have been confirmed. So your guess is as good as mine. And either way, he's leaving. I don't know for how long, but he's leaving either way. So the guys who are staying are the priority during this whole thing. The last thing Impact Wrestling needs is to put over people who are leaving.
I mean, I wouldn't put Lashley over here. It just seemed to me like Lashley got the crap kicked out of him by those 2 guys. And then Cage came in, and Cage just grabbed them and threw them around like they were just, rag dolls. And immediately went over on them like this is nothing. And Lashley, having been, the great Impact, ass kicker for the last couple of years, just stood there or laid there in the ring, kind of all beat up as this was going down. And it was like, wow, the transition to me was too fast and too harsh. It's not that I wanted Lashley to go over here. I think Lashley should go over Brian Cage. Look, we all know that they're going to meet in the ring. We all know if Lashley goes over when they meet in the ring, Impact screwed up. They screwed up royally, and we'll be screaming about it on the show. right? So Brian Cage has to go over Lashley, but they literally just made Lashley look very, very, very mortal, and Cage look incredibly immortal. And you take this character in Lashley that's been immortal for so long. He's been so hard. Nobody could touch the guy, right? Except Eddie Edwards with the Boston Knee Party. It was the only guy that could get over on him. He gets a shit kicked out of him. And then Brian Cage walks in. He pretty much bangs their heads together, does his Hulk up thing and beats him. I'm obviously, they don't mean that literally, folks. He didn't go Hulk, but he did his Hulk Hogan type of thing on him and just beat the crap out of him. And I'm done now. And screw you, I'm not going to shake your hand. I feel like they could have had him come in. They could have had him help Lashley without Lashley looking so weak. That way, when Cage beats Lashley, it seems a little bit more real that now we're actually just changing the guard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, and you might have a point. But at the same time, this is much preferable to the way people have been booked in the past on their way out, like Sting, for example.
AJ Styles.
Or, yeah. Yeah, where they just make everyone look like absolute garbage in their last match before they head for WWE. Isn't it okay? Maybe this wasn't exactly perfect the way they booked Lashley here, but isn't it preferable that somebody who's sticking around is getting over?
I like
other than the guy who's leaving, being made to look like a god.
I like to think they're a little smarter than Dixie Carter. Okay. I like to think that. I like to think that there is just a little bit, the bulb is burning just a little bit brighter. Somebody took the dimmer switch and jacked it up a couple notches with this crew, right? Mm-hmm. I completely agree with you on that, FK9. No argument there. I'm simply saying that I think I would have liked to see Lashley maybe not look quite as strong as Cage, or maybe in this first encounter look just as strong as Cage, to actually build Cage up to say, hey, this is guys taking over for Lashley versus we're just jobbing Lashley on the way out the door and we're going to make him look really, really bad from here on out. You know what I'm saying? I would like to see a little bit more of a gradual build. But yeah, absolutely. Completely concur. This beats the crap out of the AJ Styles Sting treatment. Yes, no comparison. So guys, now one match left. Okay. And this match was a fantastic match. Okay. Austin Aries, Johnny Impact, Impact Wrestling World Championship. FK9, did you love it? Did you hate it?
Well, yeah, it was really good. It says a lot about this current regime where we seem pretty far removed from the days when the WWE import would come in and instantly get like the whole company handed to him on a silver platter, or like get the world title instantly or wherever. Ironically, you could say that's kind of what they did with Austin Aries.
It kind of is, isn't it?
He's not really a WWE guy. He was there for a cup of coffee, but he's
an Impact
as far as the fans are concerned, he's an ROH guy. He's an Impact guy. That's Austin Aries. But Johnny Impact, people associate him as a whatever the hell he was, John Morrison. Guy's had like a dozen different names, but people associate him mostly as John Morrison. And you think he'd come in, he's the WWE guy. He's going to get the world title in like 2 weeks or something. But no, he's been there for a while now, and he's been in and around the main events, but he hasn't gotten the title yet. He's been going for it, but they put him against Austin Aries, the TNA, the Impact guy, and Aries wins. And I'm like, holy shit. They actually made a wise decision here. Not to crap on Johnny Impact or anything, but I've never seen him as a guy that you can really build around. He's a guy that you can put in big matches, but he's not someone who can really carry the whole company on his back because of the mic skills issue. Aries is a guy you can do that with. And so they actually did the smart thing here, where used a guy who has arguably more recognizability and use him to build the Impact guy into a bigger deal. And wow, wise decision making. That's so refreshing, because it isn't we haven't always been able to say that. But hey, great main event. The right guy went over. No real complaints here.
Yeah, this match between Austin Aries and Johnny Impact was indeed a master class. Oh God, they worked together so clean and so crisp. And the finisher, the way Austin Aries was able to hit the Brain Buster, that was a thing of beauty. Excellent stuff right there. And what you're saying, Full Killer, is 100% correct. That is the last thing Impact Wrestling needs, to put their own talent, their own homegrown talent under the bus in favor of the World Wrestling and Entertainment talent. So this was good. This was excellent. And also the ending after the match, you got Austin Aries and Johnny Impact hugging, and then you got Alberto El Patron showing up laughing like, hey, celebrate all you want, you Austin Aries, but I'm coming for you, and I'm coming for your belt. And that's the way you end up the show, having a cliffhanger with Aries and Alberto Patron in their feud. Go ahead.
You know, I'm gonna say this, and maybe it's because I've never been a huge Austin Aries fan, right? And honestly, FK9, maybe it's because I also don't see Austin Aries as a guy you can really build the company around. Don't let Raven Effect hear me say that, right? Gotta hope he's not listening, because he is the world's biggest, Austin Aries guy. I'm not sure that I see Johnny Impact in that particular light either. But I look at it the same way you look at it. I think on one hand, it's great that they're not handling a guy who's primarily known as a WWE guy, the strap. And I was thinking about it. I think the same way about them not really giving Alberto the strap and hanging on to it. I mean, obviously, he would have had a longer title run if it hadn't been for those alleged domestic issues that apparently didn't exist. But he hasn't gotten the belt back. Right. My question, though, is at some point, I think if you really want to cement Johnny's place in the company and you really want to make him not be that guy that EC3 tried to make Matt Sydal out to be, the guy who can always get there but never quite win, I think you got to put the strap on him at some point. And I think given the fact that he's held the AAA belt, right, and the Lucha Underground belt, I think at some point having him show up with those belts, right? Kind of like, Eddie with Noah, but strapped around his waist, because he is over in those other promotions. I think it's probably a miss to not do that. I think you have to do that at some point. Now, I'm not suggesting that it has to happen today or tomorrow, but I think sometime in the next few months, they need to put the belt on the guy just so that people look at him as a threat and not, oh, yeah, Johnny Impact's going to go out. He's going to put a good match on. He's going to, stick his fist in the air or whatever that thing is that he does. And he's going to wear a cool robe and some cheap sunglasses, and it'll be fun to watch him. But I know he's not going to win. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that they're missing because it's been so long. And I think that they need to really think about that, because he is a guy that they can cross into other promotions with as well. And I'm not suggesting that he get the EC3 treatment and, or the Bobby Lashley treatment. I'm just suggesting he get a run with the strap, even for a couple months. Let him take it to Mexico with him or something. That having been said, the match itself is being called a match of the year candidate. It did deliver. I mean, it delivered at every level. You can only imagine that these two are going to put on a great match. I don't think anybody was doubting that they were going to put on a fantastic match. And Austin Aries, I mean, he's delivered as the world champion so far. I like the fact that he hasn't been overexposed. We've had some episodes of Impact that really didn't have him on at all, so I like that. I like the fact that they're able to build the show around the mid card and not have everything just be centered around that main event. As much as I like my old Nitros, they generally tend to get centered around the NWO and Hogan. Even if at times maybe it was a tag match, right? It had Hall and Nash, and it was still that same central storyline. So, Robert, what do you think about Johnny Impact and actually being a future world champion? Do you think he is? Do you think he's not?
He's an excellent talent. Don't get it twisted. But he kind of have the whole, let's say, the Dolph Ziggler curls. That he's, a legit talent. But I don't see him right on the top spot, to be honest. Maybe they have given a lot of guys who were like mid-carders a title run, but I wouldn't do it right now. It is like a do or die time for Impact Wrestling, and every decision, because of the new management, is gonna be criticized and over analyzed. Therefore, I don't think it would be wise for them to do that until probably late this year, probably around Bound for Glory or after Bound for Glory, if they decide to do a title switch late during the year. But as far as today, no, I don't see Johnny Impact as a world champion, and I don't want to see him with the title belt yet.
I think he probably wins the world title at some point. I don't think there's any rush to do it, and ideally it would come after he turns heel, because I hear he comes off a lot better as a heel. From people who've seen his stuff in Lucha Underground. I don't know. I don't watch Lucha Underground, but yeah, I do agree. I think there are benefits to doing it. You need to be able to do it right. You need to book him right. You need to write his character the right way. I don't know that they've found a way to do that quite yet, but at some point, I'm not against him getting the world title. It's just it's all a question of like how it's done.
So guys, look, that brings us to the end of the show. Anybody have any final parting thoughts? Robert, any other big news that you've got?
No.
That you've been holding back on us?
Yeah. No. The thing that I would want to talk about is next week we will see the Feast or Fire. That is going to be one of the matches. And Taya Valkyrie versus Rosemary. That's happening next week also. What are your thoughts on it? My only let's say complaint is that I would have rather see the announcement that Rosemary versus Taya was gonna be happening next week. I think that is one of those matches that gonna get a lot of eyes and interest. But if you don't tell me when you got my eyes looking at the screen, therefore how will I know if I don't, come in and look out for that information on the internet? What are your thoughts? Yeah, go ahead.
I don't expect that match to really happen. And yeah, I read the spoilers, but I don't remember them, so I might as well have not read the spoilers at this point. I can only imagine they're going to hold that one for redemption. So my suspicion here is that something's going to keep the two apart, or it's going to be a shortened match for some reason or other. And guys, again, I don't know, because I don't remember what the spoilers were. I know I did read spoilers, because I knew a lot of stuff, but I also have a tendency to forget. You know what I'm saying? What's going on. So I'm going to imagine that they're not going to be held together that much. I'm also going to imagine, I know this is a terrible thing, spoiler alert, EC3 is going to get the fired briefcase. EC3 should be fired after the match you put on last week anyhow. So I don't even know why they're bothering putting him in the match for that one. FK9, what are your thoughts?
I'm very excited for Rosemary versus Taya Valkyrie. I am much less so for Feast or Fired. I don't like Feast or Fired. I think it's a stupid match. I think it's a cheap ripoff of Money in the Bank. It's always been a cheap ripoff of Money in the Bank. It's always come across that way. I think it doesn't really make sense at all. Like if there's a 1 in 4 chance you could get fired, why are you going for any briefcase? It just the match has always been dumb to me. I've never been a fan of it. Granted, once in a while we get a good outcome like Chavo Guerrero getting fired or something, but overall, I kind of wish this match would just go away. So I'm not anticipating it. It seems like a foregone conclusion that BC3 gets the fire briefcase, which I'm very frustrated with the way with this whole situation, not only with how he's been used, but just how I don't know how he's been used in like the last year or so, and also how he's you could see that he had 1 foot out the door for quite a while, and it's kind of like shooting a horse with a broken leg at this point, where he's kind of out the door, and you want to be upset about it, but it's like yeah, whatever, we know you're leaving, dude. So let's just get this over with. I'm not looking forward to the match. I've never been a fan of it, and I'm not looking forward to the outcome. I just kind of wanted to just get this in the rear view and move on.
So, FK and I got a question for you. This is straight off the YouTube channel. Our good friends over at the Chris Steele Show want to know, what's the difference between Feast or Fired and Race for the Case?
I don't know. What is it?
I don't know. So I'm asking you.
Oh, I thought that was a joke.
No.
I thought that was a punchline coming.
Oh, I guess they got a punchline. Robert, I'm not familiar with Race for the Case. Do you know about Race for the Case?
No. I saw one, but I cannot remember. Sorry.
Sorry, fellas. Got nothing for you on this one. I thought for sure that my 2 esteemed colleagues would know more about what appears to be a WWE match than I would. WWE, not my thing. So anybody else got anything else to add this week?
Not.
I don't know. It's kind of
kind
of a light news week.
Yeah, it was.
There's not a whole lot to go over.
No, it was good. It was a good discussion. Well, look, guys, if we got nothing else, then I say we wrap this one up, put another show in the books for the week. The folks, on behalf of the entire HeelCast, our good friends and hosts over at ImpactAsylum.net, and especially my good buddies Robert from Robert Does Wrestling and FK9. What can we say? Thanks for coming back. Get you again.
Well, I never really left. Like I said, I've always been around. I just kind of been keeping a low profile due to real life stuff, but I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere.
Hopefully we'll raise that profile up a bit. What do you think, Robert?
Yeah, I am a fan. I am a fan of Food Killer for quite a while, so want to see more content. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, look, guys, I'm Impact Dude. Have a great week, and we will catch you next time. See ya. We're out.